So we're going to go over how to make a Works Cited page for your paper. The first thing you need to do is start a new Word document in your AP second period folder. And you might want to also go ahead and open up your OneDrive or OneNote that you are using to take notes, because that's where all of your Works Cited information is currently stored. We're going to set this up in MLA formatting so that it's very easy to just copy and paste it to your research paper once your research paper is done. Turning in this Works Cited will serve two purposes for me. One, it will allow me to help you with the formatting. And two, it will also let me see that you have 5 viable sources for your paper. So the first thing you need to do is the same thing you should do every time you start a new document, and that is change your document name to say Works Cited. Mine isn't letting me do that right now because my internet is slow, but that is where you will do it. So over here in your paper, the first thing you should do is change the font to Times New Roman, size 12. And then the first line is going to be centered. And you are going to type Works Cited. Centering didn't take. Let's try that again. All right. And then after you hit enter, you will put it back on left aligned. I am asking you not to do a 4-line MLA heading at the top of this because it should look like the last page of your paper and not the first page. So instead, over here where you insert the running header is where you're going to put your name. So if you just click on header, it will open up these 2 little boxes. And you need to put yours over on the far right. So you'll hit tab twice to get over there. And then you're going to just type your name, your whole name, and that's where your name is going to appear. When you click back in your document, it won't be there anymore, but don't worry, it will. I'll be able to check it by clicking on header. And of course, you're going to be turning it in on Teams, so it will be labeled there as well. And if you were to print it out, it would also print. All right, so the next step is to go to your OneNote where you should have all of your sources listed. And so I've got 4 sources listed here, and it's very easy to just copy and paste them to your Word document. Highlight them all, Control-C, go back to your new Works Cited page, and then you will use Control-V to paste them there. There. I'm going to see if I can change the name of this. Yay, it's going to let me now. So now before we move on and fix this formatting, because this is not what it needs to look like, I want to add the 5th source that I don't currently have on here. Several of you have books from the school library that come from these anthologies like this. And you'll see several other examples over here on the side as well. So several of you have these social issues in literature books or the Harold Bloom books that contain a lot of different articles. And so several of you have asked me how to cite those, and I want to demonstrate that for you. And note that you can get all of the information you need from the card catalog in case you do not have your book in front of you. So all you need to type for those, and you can find this, by the way, on Purdue OWL. You can look it up. What you will look up in Purdue OWL is you will look up the MLA 8th edition, and what you need to look for is the article in an anthology. And that will give you the format that I'm about to show you. So what you do for that Works Cited page, and I'm not looking at this book, so I don't have the articles listed in front of me. So I'm just going to use a generic. What you would use is the last name, comma, first name of the article author. And then in quotation marks, you would do the title of the article. And then you would include the title of the anthology. So in this case, Slavery in Toni Morrison's Beloved. And that part, because it is a book, goes in italics. And then after that, you will continue to put the publication information for that book. It is edited by Deidre Bryfonski. So you would put ED period Deidre Bryfonski period. Notice that goes in first name, last name order. The only one that you reverse is the very first name that is included. In this case, it's the author of the article inside the book. Actually, I'm sorry. No, that's right. Slavery into, now you can, some of them, what confused me for a minute is the social issues and literature part. Really, the full title of this is Social Issues and Literature, Slavery in Toni Morrison's Beloved. So you should really also put that. And then you will include the publication information for it. MLA 8 no longer requires that you include the city of publication. So all you're going to need is the publishing company, Greenhaven Press, comma, 2012 is the year of publication. And then you're going to put the page numbers. You put PP, meaning page numbers. Yeah, it's going to keep doing that. And whatever the page numbers are for your article. All right. So now that you have that information, which just to cover it again, you start with the information from the article you're actually using, the page numbers of which go at the end, and then you include the publication information and the editor of the book itself in the middle. All right, so now let's do our actual formatting. Now that you've got your 5 sources listed on there, we need to make this look like an MLA formatted Works Cited. So you need to highlight these 5 entries. And one thing that may not have occurred when you were typing them or copy and pasting them into your OneNote is it's quite possible that these are not in Times New Roman size 12. So that's one of the first things you're going to want to fix after you highlight all of the text is you're going to go back up here and make it once again Times New Roman size 12. I apologize for my slow computer. Then there are 2 elements of the formatting that we need to fix next. You can get to these paragraph settings either right here in the paragraph box in this little drop arrow, or you can right click and choose paragraph options. For this, you need to change the line spacing to double and change this 8 to a 0 so that there is no extra space after each entry. And the way that Works Cited pages are formatted, they use a hanging indent, which you find here under Special. You choose hanging in the drop box. That is important. What that's going to do is create this indented margin where the last name of the author sticks out much farther than the rest of the information. I'm looking at this now and I see that somehow I accidentally have Times New Roman size 10.5. That is not the size I need. So I highlight it all again and change it. That looks better. Notice that I have extra space between each entry. That is not correct. So I need to go back in and delete that extra space out of there. All right. The next step is to alphabetize these according to the author's last name. And we only have 5 of them, so I don't think it's necessary to do this. But for some reason, Word Online does not have an alpha sort feature. It's very frustrating. But if you open the document in desktop Word, there is an alpha sort function. I think it's just as easy, though, to use your intelligent understanding of the alphabet to move these around. So you can either do that by highlighting it and then dragging it where it needs to go, or you can highlight it. Come on. And you can use Control X to cut it, and then Control V to paste it back. So you just move them around until they are in alphabetical order, and that is part of the score. So you're going to want to make sure you double check it. For example, MC comes before MI, so I'm going to leave those where they are. All right. So this is looking pretty good. This now looks like an MLA formatted Works Cited page. There's one last thing that you need to check, because sometimes the way that these get copied from the TEL or copied from whatever the source of your articles is, they do not actually have all the correct formatting. So for example, in this article, the important words of a title should be capitalized. So I need to go back through here and capitalize all the first letters because it did not do that for me. That's a very common thing that it messes up. In this one, I'm going to want to make that P lowercase. This one looks pretty good. Same here. This DOI number is something that I don't think we will have on the TEL. I use some of my college database sources here. We're not going to worry about that. This one is kind of messed up. All caps is never an acceptable way to have your title. So I need to go through and change all of that. All right, that looks a lot better. Where I come from, it's like this. Now, this is something that will happen sometimes, that just Word Online has put some of my lines down here instead of them being up here where they're really supposed to be. Don't worry about that. That is something that you would maybe try to fix if you were turning this into a journal or something like that. But it's really just a problem that Microsoft Online has, and I'm not going to fault you for it as long as you've got this hanging indent. Something you do not want to do when making a Works Cited page is go through and hit enter where you think a new line should start, because that is going to mess up your hanging indent. Do it the smart way, where you highlight it and right click and use the paragraph options in order to create the hanging indent. Do not use enter and tab, or it will mess up your formatting eventually. Don't try a workaround. Go through the correct steps and do it the smart way. All right, so this is how it's supposed to look. And if you have any questions, you can email me or ask me via Remind.